Strategy 4. The Flank Attack Strategy. Welcome back to the Heavenly Secrets Unrevealed channel. Today we will explore the next strategy in the collection of 36 strategies of human harmony, an ancient treasure trove of wisdom filled with profound lessons and techniques for navigating interactions and communication in life. In the previous video, we discussed the third strategy, the borrowing pretext strategy. Today we continue with the third strategy named the flank attack strategy. The flank attack strategy is a sophisticated communication tactic that allows you to convey messages subtly without hurting others. How can you express everything without wounding someone's feelings? When communicating, one must excel at reading between the lines and conveying ideas beyond words, which is the most remarkable art of social manipulation. Seasoned individuals often use double-meaning phrases in their speech. The astute need not say much or even speak at all, yet they make their intentions crystal clear. Meanwhile, cunning villains are adept at slandering others, indirectly criticizing through metaphors or using sharp words to ruin reputations. Whether the speaker intentionally hides their true motives or not, the listener must discern the speaker's real intentions to respond appropriately. A dull mind or insensitive ears will inevitably lead to many obstacles. Words within words and flanking attacks are games for the intelligent. The foolish cannot play them. A slow-witted mind will surely encounter disaster or become the subject of ridicule. Words within words and attacking from the flank are in essence a form of indirect approach. This strategy values both indirect tactics and the art of concealment, making it more proactive and ingenious than simple circumvention. It is a refined social technique that only the wise and intelligent can master. The first principle of the flank attack strategy is that even casual conversation can be used to subtly strike at others. Society is complex, and we often encounter injustices or frustrations, but cannot openly express dissatisfaction. Even with loved ones, there are times when subtle criticism is necessary. However, expressing this dissatisfaction requires a certain level of tact, especially for non-principled issues, where one must convey discontent without damaging the harmony of social relationships, a challenging task. In such cases, using the technique of words within words and striking from the flank becomes an ideal weapon. First method, subtle hinting. This method avoids direct confrontation and instead approaches the issue from the side, making the other party aware of your dissatisfaction and dispelling their inappropriate intentions. This technique relies on a specific form of verbal expression. For example, A and B are close friends. One day a colleague, C, says to A, "Hey, A, I feel like B is overly serious, almost stubborn, don't you think?" Hearing this, A feels repulsed, thinking, is C bad-mouthing my friend? However, A doesn't want to lose composure and responds calmly, "C, let me ask you this, if I gossiped about my friend to you and he found out, wouldn't he see me as a traitor?" C, embarrassed, falls silent. In this case, A skillfully uses subtle hinting, avoiding a direct response to C's question. Instead, A poses a challenging question that implies B is a close friend, while indirectly criticizing C for speaking ill behind someone's back. This tactful approach prevents C from feeling overly uncomfortable. Second method, using analogies as warnings. This method involves comparing two situations with a shared similarity to subtly point out that the other party's words or actions are inappropriate without causing resentment. For example, during a business negotiation, the director of Company A is offended by an employee of Company B. Furious, he calls Company B's director, saying, "If you don't guarantee that you'll fire the rude employee from our last negotiation, it's clear you're not serious about signing a contract with us." Company B's director responds calmly, "Dear director, disciplining or firing employees is entirely an internal matter for our company, and we don't need to provide guarantees to yours. Similarly, we wouldn't demand that your company's CEO fire a director who clashed with our employee to prove your sincerity in signing the contract. Company A's director is left speechless. Here, Company B's director masterfully uses an analogy to warn the other party. Although companies A and B differ in many ways, they share one similarity. Employee or director discipline is an internal matter unrelated to sincerity in business dealings. By highlighting this similarity, Company B's director subtly warns Company A's director that his demands are excessive and unreasonable, expressing dissatisfaction with his overbearing attitude. It's worth noting that while this technique expresses dissatisfaction clearly, it differs from direct warning, so it's called using an analogy to caution rather than using an analogy to warn. Third method, the gentle strike. Some young women enjoy playfully sulking with their boyfriends to assert their personality. If such a woman is pampered by her parents or is the proud younger sister of an older brother, she may find it hard to tolerate others. Some smitten young men, fearing they might upset their girlfriend and offend their princess, hurriedly humble themselves, begging for forgiveness to prove their loyalty. In reality, this isn't necessary. For instance, a spoiled young lady named Shu, daughter of a bureau chief, is in a relationship with a man named Lee from her workplace. She constantly acts superior. Lee, from a rural background, joined the bureau after graduating university and lacks social standing. One day, Shu visits Lee's home and, displeased with the surroundings, whispers complaints to him. After dinner, Shu orders Lee's younger sister around, asking her to boil water or fetch a cloth to wipe her feet. Feeling uneasy, Lee seizes an opportunity and says to his sister with a smile, "To be a master, you must first be a student. Practice hard now, so when you marry into someone else's family, you can act like a master too." Shu senses the hidden meaning in Lee's words, realizing her behavior was excessive, and Lee used this remark to caution her without direct confrontation. Though she feels slightly upset at the moment, she reflects and understands later. Fourth method, humorous reminders. Humor is a soothing balm in social interactions. Sometimes using humor to express dissatisfaction is an effective approach. Here's a story. In a restaurant, a picky young woman orders fried eggs, instructing the waiter, "The whites must be fully cooked, but the yolk must be completely runny. Don't use too much oil, go light on the salt, add a few pepper grains, and it must be a fresh egg from a clucking country hen." The waiter responds softly, "May I ask, would a hen named Miss Pearl suit you?" In this humorous anecdote, the waiter uses wit to gently remind the demanding customer. By following her line of thought and posing an absurdly funny question, the waiter expresses dissatisfaction with her overly strict demands, subtly pointing out that her requests are unreasonable and impossible to meet, all while conveying her frustration in a light-hearted way. Additionally, when dealing with malicious individuals, there's no need to fight fire with fire. Simply startling the snake by rustling the grass is enough for self-defense. For rude offenders, a warning shot is sufficient. There's no need to push them to ruin. To stand firm in life, one must be both principled and adaptable, balancing firmness with flexibility. The second principle of the flank attack strategy is to make others understand without speaking. In social interactions, a carefully chosen and designed setting can create a specific atmosphere. In 1942, Huang Yanpei, a member of the National Conference for Promoting Anti-Japanese Unity, flew from Chongqing to Yan'an. Mao Zedong received him in the Grand Yangjialing Hall. The hall was brightly lit with several paintings on the walls, including one depicting a wine jug and cups labeled Mao Tai, accompanied by Huang Yanpei's inscription. Hearing a guest visits Mao Tai brewing wine to wash their feet. True or false, I care not. In cold weather, drink a few cups. This painting, a gift from Shen Junru's second son Xu Yang to his father during the Nationalist Party's third anti-communist campaign, referenced the Red Army drinking Mao Tea wine. Unexpectedly, it was displayed in the Communist Leaders' Hall. When Huang Yanpei saw it, he was deeply moved, feeling a sense of mutual understanding, and held open, productive talks with Mao Zedong, marking a turning point in his life. Here, the painting created a unique social atmosphere, conveying sincerity and goodwill, leading to a highly successful discussion. Sometimes due to military or commercial needs, it's inconvenient to speak directly, but a pre-designed interaction setting can yield surprising results. In Romance of the Three Kingdoms, during the Empty City strategy, Sima Yi led 150,000 troops to Chicheng, where Zhuge Liang was stationed with no generals, only a few civil officials, and 2,500 soldiers. In this dire situation, Zhuge Liang boldly ordered all flags hidden. The city gates opened, and 20 soldiers disguised as civilians to sweep the roads, while he sat atop the city wall, burning incense and playing the zither. Seeing this, Sima Yi suspected an ambush and retreated. Zhuge Liang's daring setup, open gates, sweeping civilians and zither playing created a deceptive atmosphere, leading Sima Yi to mistakenly believe an ambush awaited, thus saving the city. This skillful use of a wordless situation, even if based on a misunderstanding, was a brilliant though risky strategy with remarkable results. In social interactions, it's sometimes inconvenient or unnecessary to speak directly. A well-crafted setting can convey the entire message and achieve the intended goal. In 1972, President Nixon and his wife visited China, landing in Beijing. As Nixon disembarked, he instructed his guards to keep his entourage back, descended the plane's stairs alone, and eagerly extended his hand to shake Zhou Enlai's. Reporters rushed to capture this historic moment. At Beijing's airport in 1972, the leaders of China and the US, clasping hands, created a wordless yet profoundly meaningful scene. It recalled 1954 when US Secretary of State Dulles refused to shake Zhou Enlai's hand at the Geneva Conference, creating a psychological rift. Nixon's gesture bridged that gap, signaling the end of one era and the start of a new one in China-US relations. This wordless social setting was both appropriate and iconic, conveying more meaning than words could. Another approach involves addressing inappropriate remarks indirectly. Instead of showing immediate dissatisfaction, wait for the right moment to recreate a similar situation. Repeat the other party's words and then correct them to reveal your intent. For example, a wife is sewing while her husband nags, "Slow down, be careful, the needle's broken, pull, the fabric stop." Annoyed, the wife snaps, "Why do you talk so much? I know how to sew." The husband replies, "Of course you do, dear. I just wanted you to recall how you instructed me when I was mopping the floor." Here the husband uses a situational tactic. When he was mopping, his wife stood over him giving orders like a general. Instead of confronting her directly, he waits until she's sewing to create a parallel scenario, letting her experience the feeling of being micromanaged. This subtly conveys his dissatisfaction with her bossy behavior. It's worth noting that social settings aren't always of our own design. If the other party creates the setting, we must pay attention to its meaning, interpret it accurately, and respond flexibly to avoid being caught off guard or making mistakes. The third principle of the flank attack strategy is to tactfully remove obstructive figures. In the business world, many examples show that individuals who were once key contributors to a company's founding often become obstacles to its progress. These self-proclaimed elders or meritorious figures hold high positions but contribute little, complacent without seeking improvement. They excel at forming cliques and engaging in deceit for personal gain. Their abilities no longer keep pace with the company's development, turning them into burdens that hinder progress. Managers often agonize over this, reluctant to sever ties due to past bonds, lacking the courage to make a clean break, and struggling to find a good solution. So what should be done except for the rare, cold-hearted or ungrateful types? Most people find it hard to ruthlessly dismiss or eliminate old comrades who shared hardships in building the enterprise. Even when the harm they cause reaches a critical point, emotional ties make it difficult to act decisively, yet allowing the situation to persist is unsustainable. If a manager masters the flank attack strategy, they can both preserve emotional ties and guide the company out of difficulty, opening new opportunities, a perfect balance. Isn't that a satisfying outcome? The flank attack strategy offers numerous methods, and here are a few examples for managers to consider. First method, assign a new office. Office allocation carries symbolic weight reflecting power and status within a company. The size, location, and decor of an office signify an individual's position. Over years, the power dynamics of specific offices, such as which belongs to the deputy director or the director, become deeply ingrained and widely recognized. To subtly reduce someone's influence without formally demoting them, assign them a new office far from the power center. This discreet move gradually erodes their authority in a natural, almost invisible way. Once their influence wanes, addressing their role becomes less harsh and avoids negative repercussions. In practice, relocating an office is the first step in diminishing power. This approach is the gentlest, preserving the individual's dignity. A bolder tactic is to move them from a private office to a shared workspace with regular staff, framed as strengthening that department. Losing a private office often leads to the dissolution of their loyal entourage. Some companies seize opportunities during expansions or relocations to a new building, allowing managers to strategically reassign offices to reclaim authority. Second method, cut off communication and information. It's said that a company's most powerful figure might be the secretary, as they control the flow of information. A secretary who dislikes someone can easily undermine them by cutting off their access to information, leaving them in a precarious position. In today's information age, information is the root of power. The more information one controls, the greater their influence. One of the most effective ways to neutralize someone without confrontation is to sever their information sources. How? For instance, schedule critical meetings when the individual is absent or on a business trip, excluding them from key decisions. Alternatively, omit them from meeting invitations or withhold business reports, isolating them from the decision-making process. Third method, promote to a hollow position. On the surface, offer a promotion, but in reality, strip away real authority. Administrative bodies often appoint ministers or directors as advisors or consultants, giving them prestigious titles without actual power, a tactic known as overt promotion, covert demotion. This method has several advantages. It preserves the individual's dignity, ensures a smooth and peaceful transfer of power, and avoids criticism. Example, appointing a director or deputy director as a senior advisor is a move few can object to. Fourth method, send them on a long assignment. Dispatch the individual on an extended overseas trip or inspection lasting several months. Upon their return, they find the situation has changed, their responsibilities have been reassigned, and their influence has diminished. The explanation: urgent circumstances required someone to step in. Even if they see through the tactic, they're left with little recourse. Relentless application of these flank attack methods will overwhelm even the most resilient. For the incompetent, this approach is arguably merciful. It benefits both personal and professional interests, avoiding public humiliation or abrupt dismissal while allowing them to retire with a pension and live out their years comfortably. Why wouldn't such a flank attack strategy be ideal?